So Sean just brought out, which one is that you brought out to
This is
us?
bread and butter pickle beer.
Okay, tell us who the brew. Tell us who the brew. Okay, so Sean's going to give this. Sean
discovered pickle beer, I guess. JJ picked it up at some point, I guess. And so every so often he'll have a pickle beer with us on the podcast.
And I think we all like beer.
Yeah.
And I my beers I like very bitter.
I'm Brett Kavanaugh. I like beer. I'm not afraid. No, sorry.
What the fuck was
I
that?
heard you saying we all like beer, so I was being Brett Kavanaugh and saying I like beer. I want to be on the Supreme Court.
Oh,
Don't be
I was
mad
like
at me.
that. Yeah,
I like beer.
I didn't know if you were going to that Brett Kavanaugh. I was like, who?
I like the beers I like are kind of bitter. I like that very sharp taste.
It is the Martin House Brewing.
So Sean introduced this idea though of pickle beer, and you know
it wasn't
that
me.
taste
It was
of
a friend of JJ.
You introduced it to us, is what I meant.
All right, got you.
And so he brings us out best made
By Martin. Look at the top.
Yeah,
It says
Martin House Brewing Company. That they're in Fort Worth, and let's see if it said they don't have any. No, they've not added any subtext to it. Texas made in Texas by Texans.
Texas. So they have a base beer that's called a pickle beer. I know that I'm sure they make other beers because I've tasted everything, a bunch by them. Sorry, but it is like taking pickle juice, throwing beer into it, and drinking it. That's basically what it is. And I, not being able to smell, I like my taste more extreme. So very salty, very sour. Love it. Beer, love it. All right. So then JJ found this 12-pack that had 4 different flavors in it. One was the butter and
bread and butter.
Bread and butter.
Makes me want a sandwich.
They got a
bread and cheese.
This one tastes pickly.
No, it tastes like
and
bread
it's
and butter.
very sweet.
It tastes like bread and butter.
And so
juice.
before that, we had mentioned, I said I couldn't do the bread and butter because everyone's picky about what they like in that way. A pickle to me should be that very tart sour thing, and the bread and butter is that sweet,
I'm not a big
and it's like
fan
a weird.
of sweet
Well, do
pickles
you like a relish?
I do like a relish depending on what mood I'm in.
Relish, yeah.
I'm very. It's
Nah,
I love sour things, and that's why when he introduced this, I'm like, okay, I'll try it, but I don't want that in my beer.
so
It's a weird juxtaposition
they have
of
a
taste.
Bloody Mary beer,
which would be as good as a Bloody Mary beer, but without pickles.
They've got the bread and butter. They've got a
They're apparently
spicy
doing well.
sour pickle beer and this chamoy drip pickle beer. So I don't know what that is going to be like, but yeah, I like my sour beers. Anyway,
Well, that's good. That's the cool thing about all of these now. You know, when we grew up, I remember friends like, you got to have some beer, and I taste it. I'm like, this tastes like shit. And so I went on, even at that time, I was who I am. I get obsessive about things, and I went on an obsessive journey to find a beer that tastes okay.
Coors.
you find your Heineken.
That was, at that time, Heineken was the first. I was like, okay, it has a little bitterness to it, and I like that bitter. That led me to now where I don't want a hazy IPA. I don't want those that are citrusy. I want a floral bitter IPA. I like bitter. Where you like the kind of sour type things?
I want a sour, I want a salty, or a bitter. So I want a pickle beer. I want a Guinness because I want that dark, bitter stuff.
That's almost coffee-ish.
Yeah, because I can't smell. I asked all y'all to smell it, and y'all were like, "Oh."
One of my really good friends that
oh, geez, I wish I could smell.
One of my good friends that I play in a duo with, Steve Carey, owns a brewery here called Four Corners.
At some point, you're still gonna. You know what? We ought to do a podcast out there.
He'd let us without in a heartbeat. But they make a IPA called El Chicon. And I mean, it will smack you in the face with how bitter it is. And I'm like,
so I
love it.
They do make a michelada, which is a beer with tomato juice and salt and lime and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they made one that was like a honey sour beer. So it tastes sweet. It tastes like it's got limes in it. And
is that what? Did they have any regular? Did they make a lager? Did they do any regular beers?
Hang on, I don't know.
And I want to step back and introduce one thing that Sean said, and that's for anyone that's new to this and hasn't heard some in-betweens before. But Sean has actually no sense of smell.
Yeah, born that way.
He was born that way. My wife, who had severe COVID and has lost a lot of hers because of it,
knows
it
what
is
I'm
not.
going through now.
It is not that situation. Sean was actually born with
Yeah,
that.
they have a IPA.
Okay. Because I don't know their beer. Do they have the cans on the website?
Well, if you see this, you would. If you've seen the cans, you would kind of know what they look like. That's what they look like.
Yeah, I think I've seen that Martin House pills.
Yeah. That yellow one.
So that's the salty lady. I also know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the salty lady tastes good. I've tasted that one,
a pilsner is one thing I fight with my friend Steve about. I'm like, why don't you guys make a pilsner? He's like, it's incredibly hard because a true pilsner is the reason called pilsner is from the Pils in Czech Republic. That's where they come from. And then there are German pills and all this. And he's like, I know what you want. You want a Czech pills. You want it bitter and very soft on the back end. He's like, it's incredibly hard to make. So I'm going to try their pills and see if they're any good. That is my goal, is to find one to go to Steve and go, yeah, mister, they make it. You make
this
it.
Is what you need.
They had a beer called Sole Luna that they're now owned by the company that distributes Dos Equis, and they made them cut Sole Luna, and it was my favorite beer.
Oh, they're out in Fort Worth. Okay. They're not that far away. We could go there if we want to.
What, this one?
Yeah, this Martin House. They're
Well, again, Four Corners is Hervé Street downtown.
Yeah.
And we could easily.
No, I mean, they're in Fort Worth.
I understand. I'm just saying also Four Corners, we could do that.
Yeah,
it's very close, too. We could do that. I'm happy to set that up.
Sure.
All right, so
Richard, whatever.
I know we've been talking about beer, and that's just because we're a bunch of alcoholics, and we'll own up to that. So I was talking to Todd earlier about this. There is a email list that I subscribed to that I heard about earlier this year that is really fun to do. It's Dracula Daily.
Okay.
So the book Dracula, and I did not realize this because I've never read it before. I've only seen the movies and know the lore.
I think I have.
The way it is written in a series of correspondence.
Right.
It is not a linear story. It is here, read this letter, read this diary entry, read this telegram. And so this email list is send you out on the day that it happens, the event that happens that day. So you'd get the diary event that day. You get the telegram that happens that day. You get the letter that was sent out that day. And so you read it, and it takes course over the 6 months. So you start off this point, you're in at this point, you just read it a little bit at a time as it's happening in real life, or happening at the time that it happened.
That's a great idea.
So it's a little fun thing. So I recommend Dracula Daily.
I appreciate you recommending that. The one thing that immediately shuts off that for me is that you said email, and I am to the point where
Here's
my
sweet baby sleeping on her little couch.
I am to the point with all email where it must be shut down. I don't want to see.
You don't do email?
I do email for work and for projects, but it's like I don't know what happens somewhere along the way. It's like
Todd is straight TikTok now. If you don't hit him through TikTok, he doesn't talk.
I just get sick of so much extra shit that there's a service called Unroll Me, I think is what it is, and you can actually tell it. And what it does is it takes your email and it creates
way to unsubscribe you?
They actually create a roll up so you can find. Then you open one email and you see all this stuff, and you can decide which of them you want to read. It's just a very nice accumulation of it. I'm just
What's it called?
Unroll Me.
Unroll Me.
I like it.
Instead of enroll me.
It's super easy, and you can tell it to unsubscribe. You can say unsubscribe, and they're very proud of the fact that they actually make sure you're unsubscribed from it. I can't take my inbox full of shit anymore. I'm like, I can't take it.
It's overwhelming. My inbox is just I dread looking. I look at email too much, and I dread looking at it.
Well,
Me
I
too.
mean, you Todd, I'm pointing at you, say not you, but listen, you, Richard, you have a harder job because you own your own business, so you don't necessarily know if an email is truly needed or not. So things can slip by that you look at that you don't need to look at. Well, Todd, as you being an employee of a company, while you get a whole lot of emails, you can know more safely that you can delete shit without having to look at it.
I appreciate your opinion. That's not right, because what happens with the big company I work with is if I don't read every email, it could be at the very bottom of it that someone puts, and Todd, we need this.
Yep.
And it can look like it's the most innocuous thing, but what I end up doing is almost taking care of so many factors at Yahoo and they do treat a lot of what I do as kind of like, oh, and we need him. And so I have to read all that, but it actually comes down to where it drives me even more nuts is with this project that I was telling Richard, the film thing that I'm trying to put together. That's taken off, and a lot of things are happening with that. And it's like I go over to my personal email box, and between that, my band, duos, letters from my kid from CU Boulder, I'm like, I can't keep straight up. And so when I start getting extra shit, I'm like, done.
just dump all your kids' shit to spam. And
Well,
then that takes
great.
care of like 90% of it.
And then she'll get kicked out of school because I didn't pay the bills. Yeah. I just email. It's one of those untamed frontiers where it's out of control, and it needs. They have filters for shit. It needs to be better filters for shit.
Well, so I know Chris knows of it. I think you remember that I do wrong Sean every now and then. So
Yeah.
Google, if you register an email address, every punctuated version of it is yours. So if I registered test at gmail.com and that was available, test@gmail.com would be mine. Also, that means test t.e.t.s at gmail.com is me. That also means t.est at gmail.com. te.est is mine. tes.t. All those combinations are mine. So if you would do Todd Hartzell, Toddha, you could do Todd.Hartzell. You could do T.od, every dot in between. All those are yours. They all go to your box. So my name is mine. Sean Jackson is me. So Sean.Jackson is me is what I use as my primary email address. I know if anything else comes in that is not coming to Sean.Jackson, it's spam. I get tons of things to SeanJackson@gmail.com. So I just know it's spam. I got an email from a guy who sent me an email saying, hey, I accidentally registered with Sean Jackson. I meant to register at SeanJackson5253@gmail.com. And now I can't get any of my stuff that I want. First of all, how do you forget to put 4 other numbers at the end of your email address that you're registering, which should ask you twice to enter your email address, but whatever.
Right.
But no, I'm not going to forward you fucking anything.
Well, yeah,
how
that
could you-
seems like a
Yeah,
phishing way to
no.
get me
Yeah.
to.
That is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. No.
Hey, Richard, my name is Todd Hartzell, and I registered with
Todd Hartzell 2569.
But actually, your name is not Todd Hartzell. Could you still forward? I mean, it's the most fucked up shit in the whole world.
Here we go. My name is Sean Jackson. I incorrectly inputted your email address into a job application for Lend-Lease. I failed to leave off the 5152 in my email address and was not able to change it. I'm just wondering if you received any replies in the last week or so from recruiting career teams, and would you mind forwarding it? Sorry for any inconvenience.
Why would you?
No.
How you know what your email is?
And also, by the way,
can't
I'm
apply
gonna.
for a job with your correct email address?
That's what
Fuck
I was
you.
gonna say. I'm gonna. Hey, I'll help you out
is
even
that
further.
What it was? Do you think it was? They didn't want.
I'm gonna go to the recruiters and go, hey, this fuckface was so stupid they didn't put in here. Do you really want them as an employee? I'm gonna help you out in that way.
They didn't want to let their employer know their email address was sugardaddyseanjackson@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Well, that is the that's the shortcut you and I use.
Hang
when
on,
we
I
refer
gotta
to
go
Sean.
SeanAskPlayerJackson@gmail.com.
Is that with 3 S's and one's a dollar sign?
Yes.
But you don't know where.
That's great.
It's not what you expect.
Email talk. I didn't expect. Oh, what the hell? I look over and Richard's
saw
long
hair?
locks. Oh my
He
god!
took his locks out, messed around with his headphones.
This will appeal to no one. He's
got his
it's gonna be
locks
it's gonna be a
going on,
football
yeah.
story only for about the first 5 seconds of it. I'm watching the UT Longhorn game last night with Shelly, and their kicker
5
comes
seconds.
their kicker comes on to kick, and he has a little bit of yours, but much tighter curl red, right? But I was like, oh look, it's a little orphan Annie because it's boofed up here. Holy shit! They show the actual, they insert the picture of that kid. My god!
Was he Carrot Top?
He is little orphan Annie as a boy, as a kicker on it, because it's like poof, it's like big and shit.
He had no pupils, so he just all white eyes.
And the thing was, Shelly was like, "You're gonna have to calm down." I was about to piss myself because he had that face.
He had a little dog next to him.
Yeah, so that's why when I looked across to you, and it was like, I was like, "Oh shit!" Flashback. Except that you're little orphan Annie with a mustache. and
That's
it's-
right.
Hey, nobody
It's a
takes
hard
my
knock
kids
life.
from me.
This is a weird in between because we got so many in between moments out in between the actual episodes.
I'm
did
little
a whole-
Danny orphan.
Is that what you are? there's no Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes for us to throw out to everyone simply because
No, Sean.
well, hang
put it
on.
down.
No, but Sean,
Put it down.
what Richard and I were, you got some of it, but the way they're changing that game, are you at all at a point where it's like there's so many changes where it's taking some of the fun away?
There is always, and it's understandable. They're always going to change it a little bit more for the older players to make because there are some people that probably have not spent money on it and have played it legitimately and have maxed out things they can max out that they can max out. And there are people that have spent Google money like you and I do that we get for free by answering surveys and spend $20 on it every now and then just to do things a little bit faster. And then there are people that don't do anything with it or, just play minimum. I mean, it feels like they just try to make it more and more complicated to make
That's
you
exactly
have to do more and more.
The complexity at this point is a bit of a turnoff. I would like more adventure stuff to do.
Like the crates that they're adding to make teams harder. I don't understand how I'm supposed to buy them.
Well, and the funny thing is, everyone talks about, hey, you need to find one character and grind on that and do blah, 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 blah. I'm at a point, and I think I'd mentioned this a while ago, that I'm grinding to get Han Solo's Millennium Falcon, and it was one of those that because because I focused on something else at that time when it was easier. Well, now I
didn't mean to sound like a dismissive you don't have that one yet.
It doesn't bother me. Now they've turned down the algorithm on how many shards are rewarded. I get like one every other day of the ship I need to get to it, and it's like
that's bullshit.
You're
when
fucking
they do that.
me over, and now once again I'm being left behind in other parts of the game because I'm trying to plug that hole.
Right.
And they've taken the game, and I think you're right that you have to keep maturing a game. You have to keep adding on to it. But this feels like another desperate grab for here's another way you're going to have to plug money into this game.
The one thing I would like for them to do is the guild shop, the stores that you buy everything in that have the same characters all the time. I would just like once a year mix it up. Don't make it the same. Make it some new. I'm not saying the characters that I don't have. I'm just saying making new characters in there. Just like every 6 months.
Oh, I agree.
And so maybe there's a random character that you can only get through the guild shop or whatever. So you can start buying that or the shard shop or whatever. But it's just the same people that once you reach a certain level and you've already got them, all you're doing is buying those characters so you can get shards because you've got nothing else to do with that currency.
The shards. Is it the shard shop?
Yeah.
What shop am I at? No, it's the silver coin, the main coin shop app.
Yeah, that one that they give.
Kit Fisto is the last thing that I need. Otherwise, I'm just going to start. Is it Kit Fisto?
I save that for occasionally there'll be little mod components that
you
come
don't have
in there,
enough of to buy.
Or if it ends up like right now, I don't need anything out of it. I might actually buy a character I don't need so that I can convert them to shard shop and just convert it there.
But
I do that. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I would just like if I'll tell you the specific areas I'm talking about. If like in the arena table and the ships and the Cantina Battle.
Like Cantina Battle, I've got all those characters. I'll just buy them to turn them into shards.
Yeah, so it'd just be nice.
To that point, though,
Guild activity, I bought everybody except for I've got like 5 more Kit Fistos. And then
one thing that drives me nuts, especially now that they've done this whole recent update where mods, you can really modify them behind the scenes. Why is there no mod shop within all of these things that you can easily jump to? Because I think that selling mods is what the most unnecessarily painful thing in the whole world because you have to sell them to sometimes bring things in.
Yeah, because mods is one thing in this game that has a limit.
Tedious way of selling them too.
So I don't understand why they put a limit.
I don't either.
Why can I have 10,000 of stuffed gear to gear me up, but my mods, if I have too many of them, I have too much, and I have to start selling them. And I can't remember. Is A the highest or E is the highest?
I think A is the highest.
All right, so that's
maybe E.
See, that's why I mean. There's
A.
I don't know which way it goes. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I remember when they got all the way to E, and I was like, "Hey, guys, that's a whole nother level where you can continue going further." And I'm like, what?
So I mean, why? This is a virtual game. Why are they putting a limit on the number of mods you can have?
And there has to be money tied to that somehow.
They're forcing you to either buy mods or just.
I don't know. I think that I probably am the one of the three of us that bitches more often about I'm quitting this game. But when
and then it becomes, oh god damn it.
I'm
Yeah.
still enjoying just grinding on stupid shit.
I do too.
I just get upset with like the new levels of things that you have to collect and do that just I don't even have a concept of.
I honestly think of you when my brain goes to I'm sick of this, because your comment of I'm just enjoying this. And that's when I started thinking, okay, you know what I enjoy? I enjoy this. I enjoy talking to you guys.
We were
and that's
talking about grousing about it.
Yeah, and that's the reason that every morning that I get up with my coffee, after I look at email on my calendar and go, okay, here's the day, then the first thing I do is go and and do all this shit.
Get my cantina battles.
Yeah. And I think of you guys every time I'm doing it. I'm like, I love Sean and Richard.
So what I do is I tell Google, all right, set a timer for 5 o'clock, set a timer for 5:10, 5:20,
You're better than I
5:30.
am.
Yeah, that I don't.
And so I do that. And so I'll just sit there and just do that. And so I won't think about it. And I'll just be watching TV or playing Xbox or whatever and say, oh, bing, bing, 10 minutes. And that means I do my another little 10-minute challenge and then just let it go. And then, oh, there's 10 minutes, boop, boop, boop. And I don't have to think about it. And I don't forget about it. And then I don't wake up the next day and go, God damn it.
See, I don't ever worry about that. If I didn't get them, like, oh, well, and if they come and bitch at me, you didn't do your allotted. I have a life, and I'm usually, and now, to
That's
be fair,
why I don't chat, because I don't want to deal with any of that
the
shit.
guild leaders are pretty, and I do ping them about the three of us often. They're like, you guys are fine. You're very consistent team players, and that's what we want. So with that, I'm going to put the gavel down. Let's stop talking that. Let's
Richard closes his
I've
laptop.
closed my laptop lid.
We've got about 5-ish minutes left in this one.
okay.
So what are you watching right now?
She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Are you liking She-Hulk?
House of Dragon.
I
Lord of
have
the
not-
Rings.
Okay, let's go to She-Hulk. What do you think of She-Hulk?
I think it is a fun, non-stressful, random Marvel show to watch. I'm enjoying it, not unlike I would watching like I'm going to say a Moonlighting or
Yes.
something like that, where it's just like it's a light comedy, but there's a little bit of
It is
adventure
not
to
the end
it.
of the world.
Is it
a-
accurate to the comic book in that way?
Ish.
Depending on which comic book you go with, because there are 1,000 She-Hulk comic books.
She
If
breaks
you're
the fourth wall, which is
If you're
kind of
going
fun.
with a Steve Byrne,
I think that's cute. I love Tatiana Maslany. I think
Yeah.
she's a great actress.
which is just a fun name to say. It's like a delight on your tongue. Tatiana Maslany.
I like this interpretation of Titania so far. It's kind of fun because it's
like-
not a serious.
she's
the
not like a
chick from The
supervillain.
Good Place,
Yeah.
right?
What's that?
The chick from The
Yes.
Good Place.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
She's doing a great job too.
I've only seen her in that opening thing where she breaks through the courtroom and they have a fight, and that's all
The
I've seen.
lawyerly stuff is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense,
No.
but it's just fun. Just enjoying it.
Okay, so House of Dragon.
It started off really, really slow. It's got a little bit better. I don't know that I ultimately care, but I do find the world interesting.
So you and I had a brief discussion, I think, last week when we did the spouse recording, and I do like Patty, what's his name, who's playing the king, and I like him playing him almost like a very noble, kind person. I thought that's an interesting thing we've not seen in the Game of
Right.
Thrones world. I thought, wow, a good person at the center of it who's trying to hold things together, who maybe makes bad choices, but they're for good reasons. And I like that. I love Matt Smith. You could put Matt Smith in anything, and I'm gonna watch that dude. He's just, first off, he's such an odd-looking dude.
Yeah.
Not unattractive,
Well,
but
he's a
weird.
doctor. Come on.
He's weird looking.
You know what he looks like to me? He looks like. Did you ever play Mario?
No,
You never played Super Mario?
not really. No.
Well, you just said Mario, so you
Oh,
didn't.
I knew what he
you
meant.
didn't-
I knew what he
like,
meant.
Okay.
Remember the little bone creatures that would then collapse into bones and then pop back up to reanimate the bone turtles? That's what it looks like.
Do you know who he looks like to me? Is the on Deep Space Nine, that one man that sort of had almost no facial features?
Odo?
Yeah, it looks.
yeah,
like,
he looks like a. Yeah, I agree.
And I like the young lady that's playing the princess at the center of it. I think she's a very compelling actress. I'm ready for something to
Right.
to
Nothing-
just turn me and go. Now, on the flip side, I tried one episode of Lord of the Rings, and I could not have been more bored. It was beautiful.
It's beautiful. No, it's a beautiful show. It's very boring. It
It's
is
just very
boring.
dull.
It is. It's very dull.
Actually, I watched two, and the woman that is playing
Galadriel.
no and I think it's interesting to make her a warrior, and I know that goes into actually what Tolkien said she was before she became what she is. No, the woman who's playing the dark-headed woman who has a son that they got trapped in the house with some creature. That woman is stunningly beautiful. She was on Homeland for a few seasons, which I didn't watch too long, but still.
I watched. Oh, okay, yeah.
I not only because I think, wow, she's beautiful. She's a great actress, and I enjoy watching her. But I find myself just not caring. I'm like, there's nothing for me to latch on to. I mean, I wish I had anything else to say I watched.
Just impending evil of evil that we're not aware of. Let's tell you about this evil.
I'm still thinking about Patty Edgar's from House
Patty Constantine.
Patty Constantine. I'm thinking about him and Hot Fuzz. Whenever he was always being an asshole, getting out of the camera and then leaning back in, and just being a dick.
I love him as an actor. I think he's I think a lot of them are interesting. It's just that you need a little element of the Game of Thrones type thing. If you're going to...
we were used to the houses. Now we don't have the houses. So now we need the sections of a city or whatever they're going to use to pit factions against one another. Otherwise, it's just a family and some people warring.
Something's going to... It has to happen. And based on that book that it's based on, those things are coming. I'm just ready for it.
Well, for me, this episode before last, not this Sunday, but the Sunday. Well, I guess today's a new episode. Yeah, last week they started to delve a little bit more into where this is. I guess we're potentially going. So we'll see about that. But
I do like that they're taking the chance of making it a different show than the first one. They're not just trying to say here's a bunch of new people, new situation. And one thing I did think, comparing it to the Lord of the Rings, I think the reason I like Game of Thrones more than Lord of the Rings is Lord of the Rings has this is folklore and this is very serious. But Game of Thrones is people.
More like British reality.
But they're still human beings interacting.
Just a little bit of magic in it.
It's what we talk about with science fiction. You're just changing the world enough to talk about the same issues we deal with, where I feel like Lord of the Rings is very important.
I always, the best description of not of the current one, but the original Game of Thrones was tits with a chance of dragon.
Yeah.
So, but Lord of the Rings is basically magic with a chance of balls. I don't know.
So we've gotten a lot of dragon, not a lot of tits in this one. So I think they need to up their tit quotient. That's what I'm looking for. Just going to say.
Real quick, put your hands on the table so it doesn't flip over real quick. So Andor's coming out next week. Your boner can only get so big.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't knock over the table. All right.
Would you like to take a guess what I watched Friday? Fuck yeah. My favorite of the new Star Wars films. Fuck yes.
We're planning on rewatching that as well. Maybe we'll do it this afternoon, this evening to get ready for it.
The funny thing is I didn't watch, even though I love that one better than any of the Disney films, it's better than I remembered. It had been about a year since I watched it. I was like, I already loved it. But it was like, wow, this is actually a really pretty good movie.
So every droid that goes by, you go, no, that's K2S1. No, that's K2S1. No, that's him there.
He's once again, that's the only droid in the Disney films that I actually like. I mean, it was a new droid. It's a new type. I like that. Mm-hmm. BB-8, give me a fucking break. It's because a goddamn soccer ball. It was cute.
Well, no, okay. You got to admit, though, when you saw it roll out for the first time.
It's cute.
In real life on the stage, and it wasn't an R2-D2 like drive. And you saw a ball coming in with a head, and it could actually move in real life like that. You got to go, what the fuck?
Well, I did. I think the technical...
We're living in the future.
The technical shit to put something together like that is amazing. But my second thought was, well, that's going to sell a lot of toys. You know, that's the way a lot of the Disney elements of Star Wars feel, is that it's much like Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. They've not really tried to tell a story. Yeah. When they did, they didn't try to see it through. They didn't have a throughput at all. And it was just sort of like, oh, we want to go here, we want to go there. So,
yeah.
With that said, my wife's waiting on me at home. I'm going to go have lunch.
You got to go do shit.
Love you guys. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.